Hi, my name is Darren Bartlett, and I love discussing current affairs. Now, recently, I talked about the protests that were happening in Angola, and these protests were about the fuel prices being hiked, and school fees, maybe tuition for university students, also being up. The cost of living was basically up, including food. And when the protests happened, it was not as massive as yesterday, because yesterday the Angolans went back on the streets protesting still fuel prices, and yet we know Angola is one of the countries that produces the most oil on the African continent. But guess what? They're in a crisis of fuel, and they also had issues with tuition for university students, and they felt they cannot afford school fees anymore, but also they cannot afford food in the country. And it turned out so ugly that so many cars were, smashed on the streets by protesters. I saw a car run into a crowd of people who are protesting. But I think, and I would love to give that person a sense of self defense, because they were beating up all cars that were on the road, yet people had agreed that they would be on the streets protesting against the government that is on, because of their failure to curb the fuel prices. You see, the government had removed subsidies of fuel, and that's what sparked off the prices of fuel going up. Protests in Africa, I think, are now becoming a thing. As you know, Liberia, just even before Angola, Liberians were on the streets, and they were saying that the government had to put in place courts to charge war criminals in the past 2 decades that had been there, because they feel that they are walking free on the streets. Kenyans were protesting against everything and almost anything that was available. One, it was about the finance bill. Then they went to Ruto must go. Then they came to trying to remember the anniversary, remembering the people who were killed in the protests. They almost did this almost every 3 months that we're passing. And if they're not protesting on the streets, it's online, it's in the media and everywhere. They use all means available for them to be able to protest. Tanzanians also last year had tried to go on the streets because they're preparing for an election, and Tundu Lissu was arrested and other opposition members. You went to Mozambique, where elections were, according to them, not free and fair, and people went on the streets and said, this is not the president we elected. The streets were full of people. South Africans, as I speak today with Operation Dudula, are on the streets because they want foreigners to leave the country. Call it another term, probably xenophobia. I feel like it's a blanket of xenophobia, because how they are sending away foreigners who are seeking medical attention, especially pregnant women. Interesting there. So the continent is full of protests. What do you think is going to happen in Angola? Will the president return the subsidies, or will the protesters succeed in taking off the government because they feel it's not working for them? My name is Darren. I will see you in another one.